Welcome to the third and final screencast on media representations of gender. So in the previous two screencasts, we've been focusing on media representations of women. What we're going to do in this topic is focus on men. We're going to look at media representations of masculinity. Now this bit of jargon, hegemonic masculinity, refers to the culturally dominant stereotypes of men that we traditionally found within the media. And traditionally the dominant representations of men have ascribed certain characteristics to masculinity. And it's through these representations that media audiences have been encouraged to think that certain attributes are inherently male. And these attributes include things like strength, power, control, rationality, authority, lack of emotion, and so on. And Gilmore neatly summarises the stereotypical archetypal male character within the media as being the provider, the protector, and the impregnator. And this stereotypical media representation of masculinity, what we might refer to as a masculine myth, is often linked to violence. As Eduqas and Katz have argued, a widespread and disturbing equation of masculinity and pathological control and violence is very common in media representations of men within the media. So they claim that the media is responsible for a steady stream of images that define manhood as connected with violence, dominance and control. And as we can see from the quotation on the screen at the moment, the media helped to create this as normal, as an accepted part of masculinity. Now, of course, media representations of masculinity are more varied than simply being linked to this idea of power and control through violence. And the American pressure group Children Now, in their research, found that there were 6 common stereotypical representations of male characters in the media, not all of whom are necessarily associated with violence. So firstly we have the Joker archetype. The Joker is a character who uses laughter to avoid displaying seriousness or emotion. Secondly, we have the Jock, who avoids being soft and who shows aggression to demonstrate his power and strength to win the approval of other men and women. Then we have the strong silent type. So this is a character who focuses on being in charge, acting decisively, containing emotion and succeeding with women. So this is a stereotype that reinforces the assumption that men and boys should always be in control and that talking about one's feelings is a sign of weakness. Then we have the big shot. So this is somebody whose power comes from their professional status. So it's somebody who is seen as being very successful in business or in their chosen profession. Then we have the action hero. So this is a character who is strong but not necessarily silent and who shows extreme aggression and often violence. And then the final masculine stereotype identified by this American research is the buffoon figure. So the buffoon commonly appears as a bungling father figure in TV ads and sitcoms. He's usually well-intentioned and light-hearted, and these characters range from slightly inept to completely hopeless when it comes to parenting their children or dealing with domestic issues. Now, traditionally, men have been represented more positively, more sympathetically by the media than female characters. And where men have been represented negatively, they're usually given traits that are often stereotypically feminine. So if we think about the geek or nerd archetype, this is somebody who is being represented as being kind of weak and emotional and is therefore associated with feminine characteristics. However, I think in recent years Men within the media have changed. They've changed from ideals of absolute toughness, stubborn self-reliance and emotional silence to a greater emphasis on emotions, the need for help and advice, and the problems of masculinity. And perhaps this reflects the fact that since the 1980s, men have been seen to be going through a crisis of identity, what sociologists call a crisis of masculinity. And this is linked to the fact that women have started to occupy roles and jobs in society that were traditionally virtually exclusively the domain of men. So as a result of this, it's been argued that men did not know how or what they were supposed to be and what it meant to be a man. So traditional ideas of masculinity have been changing, and this has led to more variety in their representations within the media. In other words, in today's society, the media are transmitting a mixed bag of messages about masculinity. And perhaps one of the consequences of this crisis in masculinity has been a new body consciousness amongst men promoted by magazines such as Men's Health and Men's Fitness. And new male identities that have made appearances in the mass media in recent years include the emo boy, who is represented as being more caring, sharing and emotional, and more in touch with his feminine side. Another new male identity that has been promoted by the mass media is the metrosexual. So the metrosexual male is not gay, but he's often confused with homosexuality, since the metrosexual and the homosexual male share many stereotypical features in common. So things like pride in appearance, both physically and in terms of fashion, and these values often lead to high levels of consumption of clothes, of hair care and other cosmetic products. A further change in male representation is the transformation of male bodies into sex objects in advertising in order to sell things in much the same way that women's bodies have always been used. So females are now being given the opportunity to gaze at males in a way that was once reserved only for the pleasure of male to female gaze. In other words, females are now being placed in a position of the subject, and males are more frequently being placed in the inferior position of the object. So women are more often taking on a position of power when placed in advertisements with men. So this is a change. And these changing masculine identities are reflected in the growing concerns of men with such issues as their appearance and sexual attractiveness, their body size and shape, their diet, health and dress sense, and the growing use by men of cosmetics and cosmetic surgery. In other words, factors that have traditionally only affected women are now also beginning to have effects on men.